like we're live. I like this neck. It's pretty cool. All right, I can officially start the stream once YouTube asks me to run an ad. We got Matt, we got Trolls, we got Mark, we got Craig, we got Wendell. Scott, GSU Panther, James, Stefan, got Curtis, Fearless Ed, Music Sound Gear. We got Mike, Coots, Squall, we got Mark, Johnny Rock, David, Zoots, Michael, Double Up Guitar. What's up, speaker? What's up, buddy? I kind of do like the neck on this. It's very weird, but it works. What's up, Gary? What's up, John? Michael? Martian Murray? Jeffrey? Coots 13? Buffer. I'll tell you, this guitar's been pretty nice. It's got nice pickups. I think they sound good, and you know, once you get used to the neck, you kind of like it. You know? Very angular, but it kind of works. I'm just saying, if Jimmy were alive today, he'd probably be playing a Strandberg. Probably. We can only guess. I'm just playing the percentages on that. Probably. Yeah, these are at Zounds. It has got the craziest neck, but it somehow works. The square neck. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a car. We're going to put square wheels on it. And you're going to like it. I didn't get to watch Guitar Week. What is the weight on that thing? I never weigh the guitars. It's light, though. It's a small guitar. I never weigh them, though, because, you know, the weight varies so much. Seems like a random number. And just go to Sweetwater and look at, like, the same model when they list the weight. It can vary as much as a pound in either direction, you know. E-Link Mini PC that I was using for TH rig died today. Oh man, that's quick. Lost your THU and all the rigs, huh? Have you tried booting off like an external drive just to see if it's the system and not the disk? You're getting nothing. It's the power supply. I got mine running 24/7, and it's been fine. Or it could be in other words, can you troubleshoot it a little bit to see if it's the drive or whatever? Have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in again? An old IT trick. I'm just, it does kind of sound good. Good pickups, you know. On a t-shirt. If you tried reinstalling Windows, there's power to the rear USB panel, but nothing on the front, no lights or nothing, but I was troubleshooting instead. Oh, so does it, so it gets power from a USB source? Have you just, I'm sure you did try different USB sources and a different cable. Flipping it over. Down a little bit. Yeah, I did. Thorough troubleshooting its paperweight. Oh, that sucks. I would reach out to B-Link and threaten a bad review on Amazon, and I'll bet they'll come through. those companies have a way of just snapping to the second you know, go, oh man, I was loving this system, but you know, unless you can hook me up, I'm probably gonna have to give it a 1-star review. So how was your week? We started out with Mother's Day, which was a lot quieter than Easter. Easter was it was a pandemonium there, but we went to the same place and a lot quieter. I did run into a couple of people. A woman came up to me and was like, "Are you Steve from Boston?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Oh, my husband loves your show," and he wound up coming over and said hello. Very nice. I believe it was Cheryl and Brian. So it was good. Sent an email to B-Link through Amazon support link. Yeah, still waiting to hear back. Yeah. So that was a good. It was a good day, and we had nice dry, cool weather for the start. But it got muggy towards the end of the week. It's muggy out there now. Yeah. Sent an email to B-Link, and Gary saying it took a couple of days for B-Link to get back to me. Yeah, I had a problem. I did a firmware update, a BIOS update, and I'll bet the BIOS, it reset or somehow messed with the, they actually put the serial number in firmware, right, in that TPS, right, that chip that they require now. So trusted platform module, TPM, and so it somehow, when I booted it back up again, Windows was like, "Oh, your activation is now invalid." And I was like, "Oh man!" And so I reached out to them, and they, within minutes, they sent me over a, you know, a whatchamacallit, a serial number. Is it better than the Ibanez RG560? And I go, I don't know about that, but it's certainly a nice neck. They're all, you know, it's kind of different. So it's pretty kind of a busy week, but not too bad. Should be getting another couple of handhelds in. There's been some new custom firmware too. My God, it's been making such a difference. I'm also figuring out a little bit more about the speed of the chips relative and what sort of systems that they can handle. Because sometimes, you know, they work fine. Other times, they work fine unless you add a shader or unless you do some other complicating, you know, maneuver. What model Strandberg is this? This is the Boden NX6. Yeah, I heard about that dust storm. We didn't get anything like that here. I really dug the second review on the Donna Pro. Yeah, you know what? I felt like after I was listening to it through the headphones, I was like, wow, I really didn't do it justice in that first review, you know, because as you could hear in the second review, and I didn't do any firmware updates either. I don't think there is a firmware update. I think I'm on firmware like 1.0, and that would look like the latest one up on the website, so I don't think there is a firmware update for it. But I thought it sounded really good. And when you get the main thing was just getting stereo out, getting it out of the headphones and getting it into two discrete channels, left and right, discretely. But once I figured that out, which was, you know, I had already had it set up for the that little jingle player, right, with the pads, right, with the truckery and all that. I had set it up for that to get that stereo out. And I said, geez, I wonder what would happen if I just plug it into the headphone out, and it worked. And I said, oh, I could make a video very easily now. Now that I figured, you know, that stereo separation out. And I thought the amp sounded freaking damn good. You know, really good. And the, you know, the reverbs are all stereo. You could hear it. And, you know, the analog, and I want to say the digital delays were both stereo. And you know, it was good enough that I wanted to go on and make another video. I thought it was worth spreading the news. Starting to warm up here in Tulsa. How's the weather in Boston? It got warm. It was like 80 today, and muggy. Dew point around 66, 65, 66. On the R36 handheld, you have the Plus. Is the Max any bigger of a screen? Says, I don't know that the Max is. I thought the Max was the same screen, but maybe a little bit different. I don't know what the difference with the Max is, but the Plus is a 7x20 screen, 1x1, same as this. That's a RGB20 SX by Powkitty. This is actually a generic RT electric one, but it registers when you put an operating system on it. It registers as the Powkitty RGB20 SX. The ergonomics on this are actually really good, and it's got a little bit faster chip with the RK3566 versus I'd have to see what that other one is. I feel like it's still a 3326, which is not nearly as powerful. The pickups on this are just stock. It's whatever it comes with. The old stock pickups. One dude was like, you didn't even show us how to tune it. How do you tune a guitar that's headless? And I'm like, really? Just using your brain. Is there, if you can't tune it at that end, is there another end you could possibly tune it at? I'm just saying. Just thinking about it. Just using what we would call common sense. Anything at all coming to you. Anything at all. Just looking at it. And now where would that tune from? Anything? Nothing? Well, look it up. Do a Google search. Would I prefer E flat or D standard? I generally use E standard. Sometimes E flat. And D only if it's something specific, like there's a lot of modern stuff that's now D. The last Ozzy album was mostly D. I think that a lot of that Ace Frehley album was in D. There's a whole push down to go a whole step down. Motley Crue, talk about the original band. Black Sabbath, they would tune down to not just D, but C sharp. To really get down there, you know. I haven't tried a Strandberg trim. Do they make a trim? I would assume they would. Maybe not. Tuning, that's easy. It goes out of tune, then you send it back and have it replaced. Yeah, exactly, like the disposable toilet, right? Every time you piss in the toilet, you just smash it down, take it out, and throw a new one in. What's up, J-Chef? Yeah, no cat on the couch tonight. So if you have, I don't have it installed. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I got an email from THU saying that they have a new built into THU as a part of the latest update. There's a doubler, which I'm sure could sound good, especially if you can get it to like get discrete to left and right channels. I'll check it out at some point. I'll install the update and we'll check it out. But I did get an email from THU saying we got a doubler now. Okay. Another kind of weird thing. I don't even know if it's out there. Let me take a look. Because it's do they have a No, that's from before. Is that it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh God, boy, they make you work. They really friggin' do. No, that's not it. It is it, but it's not it. Ibanez just recently announced a 7-string acoustic. I thought it might be in their Instagram feed, but no such luck. I thought it might be, you know, somewhere. But no. They sent an email on it, but and is that it? Yeah, there it is. Right there, 7-string. 12 weeks ago. I guess they announced it 12 weeks ago, and they're finally getting them out there. Because I got an email like this week. Is a doubler like a harmonizer? No, a doubler usually is a slight delay in pitch shift between 2 discrete channels. Kind of like what the dimension was. To make it sound like you double tracked it. Right? I think that's how they're interpreting it. Another way you could interpret it would be almost like a slapback, but that's less likely. I think they're interpreting it like a stereo doubler, a stereo imager, kind of like the dimension. Where would you even find a set of strings with a 7-string, right? Yeah, I guess you'd have to make up a custom set or get a 6-string set and then the extra low string. I suppose that's how you would do it, right? You'd get a set of like extra lights and then put a low E from like a set of mediums on to be the low string. Something like that. Kind of like a hybrid. Should have a shooting the chord on the cow segment. Yeah. Utilize the gorgeous cow. Yeah, that thing. For now. The arm, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, see the arm right there? The cat's, and we put a cat tower there so they can use it as a bridge to get over to the window. But this arm, for whatever reason, not the other one, not the one on the other, but this one, my God, they tear it up. They cannot stop scratching that like a friggin' scratch post. On the very top, they all go up there or go on the top. They sniff around. Then they start tearing at that thing like crazy. So I don't think it's going to last very long. Music Man? You mean like the EVH style? I've had a bunch of Sterlings here. I don't think we've ever done Music Man though. Yeah, but then you spray the arm with diluted vinegar, and then it worked for our cat. Yeah, but then it smells like vinegar. That was very inexpensive. I bought that off of Amazon. It was, I want to say, $229, $224.99, and free delivery. With the tax, it was like $236 or something. Oh, pretty cheap. And I just brought a, like a pallet wagon, with the wheels on it down to the end of the driveway and had them throw it on that, and then pretty much rolled it down here. And then you gotta put some partial assembly. Yeah, picking up the audio, yeah. I'm getting it pretty good in my ear. My meters are showing pretty good. Like that's up in the yellow. Check. Yeah, no, it's up in the yellow. Not quite red, but it's in the yellow. I actually just got him another scratching tower. We have a scratching tower down here from not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before that, and they have absolutely destroyed it. So I got him a new one. I actually got him, you can see it up there, I mounted it up on the back of the stud there for the wall. That's actually a brush, right? Like a rubbery brush that's like plastic for them to brush into, but they seem to be afraid of it. Now they won't go up there. Like, there's something up there. They'll figure it out. You got it good there? Okay. What's up, Super Lead? You could have used the trailer. Just say I used the trailer. Yeah. Not for that. I think those guys were ready to do it, but they told me they don't deliver it beyond the sidewalk. It's like one of those trucks. It's not like a UPS truck. It's a much bigger box truck. And but like 3 guys got out. I felt like they might have been willing to bring it down the driveway, but I was like, yeah, I got it. I'm good. Got it from here, boys. The Donna Pro, when using the stereo out, the 2 independent handheld jam give you the left and right pan effect. We use delay effects. Yeah, so if you don't have a left and right pan, if you sum the 2 channels into mono, you won't be able to hear them separately. They, by definition, will come down straight down the center. They'll sound right down the middle. You have to isolate the 2 channels. So by using the headphone out, remember the headphone sends it out to 2 independent speakers, left and right, in your headphones. So I just used the headphone out. And because it was sounding so good in the headphones. Not these headphones. I have this other set of closed back Sennheisers. They're smaller, and they have a closed back, and they have just the right end jack for that. And then I don't have to unplug these. I can just use those, and I'll plug it into it, and I'm going, hey, this thing sounds pretty good. I wonder if they use right? That there's a lot of pedals out there that are using it. There's like an open source profiling. I forget the name of it, but I think that's what Genome is made from, right? Their IR thing, and they can do like not just cab IRs, but also amp IRs, right? Basically profiles. And it would explain why it sounds so good. Because it's just basically, you know, playing back like a convolution reverb, right? Where they do a print, they send out a signal, listen to it, and then they can calculate what it's supposed to sound like, and the accuracy is like unbelievable. It's like really good. You know, it's getting there. Is that what it is, neural amp modeler? You might be right. Could be NAM technology, right? At its heart. That way you have something that's supported in the industry and, you know, doesn't cost you anything because it's open source. And, it gives you high quality without having to break the bank on R&D. Why not use the open source? Right? Just kind of like how this uses like a version of Linux, right, which is open source, and some of my other ones use Android, right? Because it's you can find an open source version of it. It kind of makes sense. Seeing a boomer with a headless guitar is like seeing someone join the dark side. Well, I'm Gen X, but sure. Boomers are like my uncles and aunts. They were the hippies. They were the boomers. I've heard about the new Ghost album because a couple of my friends are making videos about it, like, reacting to the new Ghost. I haven't heard it. I can check it out. Luckily I have one of those, and I'm sure it's probably on there. I have the Amazon, mega service, and usually they have pretty much everything. I've never looked for something and it wasn't on there, so I'm guessing they probably have it. Looks exactly like you, especially when you have your beard shaved. I had no idea you had such a handsome brother. So what went wrong with you? Some would say that my sister is a boomer because she's in the early 60s. But not really. A lot of people say it really, Gen X started in 60, right? Didn't go 20 years. Some would say it was 45 to 65, 20 years. Others say it's more like 15, 45 to 60. And then Gen X was 20 years, 60 to 80. And then start the millennials. Others say it's 65 to, 80 is Gen X. And then start the millennials. But I'm in the late 60s, so I'm definitely in Gen X territory. You know who's in my year? Believe it or not, just like a few weeks. Phil X is 2 days younger than me. Mike Tyson is like a week younger than me, a couple of weeks younger than me. Who else? Adam Sandler's my year, David Spade. There's a whole class that year. Thoughts about analog versus digital with the recording. You know, digital, it just tends to be cleaner. And you can probably get what you want out of the, you know, using, you know, EQs and so forth. So I don't know that you need analog. Analog just, well, it has a certain warmth to it. It does introduce problems with like grounding, you know, just basically noise, hiss, you know, and that's where digital can really be much better. Not 20 years ago, and then it was crap, but now we're getting there. It's really good. My boomer was just barely October 64. Yeah. Some would say maybe even not. That's really like early Gen X. Some would call it really it was 60 was the difference. Unless you want to call it, again, it depends if you want to call the boomer 15 years and Gen X 20, or if you want to call 15, 20. It's like whether you want to call boomer 20 years and Gen X 15, or boomer 15 years and Gen X 20. But yeah, if you're born in 1959, you're definitely boomer. Without a doubt. So yeah, it's been pretty busy. Can't be when we understand computers, right? Exactly. If you had to wear tough skins, you're Gen X. If you had a big wheel, if you had what would that? It would be a banana seat and sissy bars. I actually just barely remember the 60s. One of my earliest memories is my mother telling me it was 1969. I would have been 3. Strandberg setup out of the box. Really a low action. It's been really nice. Of course, no fret ends or anything like that. It's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Pretty good attention to detail, head to toe. You know, if you like low action. Yeah, I probably could have gone to Woodstock, though. I don't know if I would remember it. I took my kids to Disney when they were 3, and they don't remember it. I show them photos, they're like, yeah, I got nothing. That wasn't a waste of money. I think my daughter was 5, and my daughter was 4 or 5, and my son was 3. Don't remember it at all. None of it. I was like, damn. Is the action easy to adjust? Well, I haven't had to adjust it, but it looks like it uses a single screw, right? Yeah, right there. The silver part. Yeah. You can see the string go through it. That's the height. So yeah, pretty easy. I think you just spin that until you get the right height. My keyboard teacher, when I was taking lessons from this guy, he used to work at the music store I worked at. He went to Woodstock, and he stayed for Hendrix. And I think he basically stayed because, had no place to go and didn't want to deal with the massive crowd trying to get out of there, and so he figured he'd just wait. And he did. He stayed and saw Hendrix. And he said it was probably 10 or 20% of the people that were there at the peak were there when Hendrix went on, because everybody left. It had pouring rain. People were tired and hungry. And Hendrix insisted on going on dead last. And by the time he went on, should have gone on like 3/4 of the way through that. He would have been at peak. But instead he insisted on being the final act and played to a much, much smaller audience as people just started to head home. Like monster cars like Roadrunner, Charger, Duster, Challenger, Mustang. Sure. It was all the rage when I was a kid. The muscle cars. Thing is I wish I had that Roadrunner. My dad had a Roadrunner. God, we sold that for short money. He sold that to that kid for like $1,000 or wasn't a lot of money. And the dude was like, oh, there's a problem with it. I want my money back. My dad was like, whatever. He quickly sold it again. That dude was an idiot to return that friggin' Roadrunner. That was a nice friggin' car. What a moron. But, yeah, I had that. Trying to think if he ever had any more muscle cars. Not really. He tended to get, we had a bunch of Thunderbirds, all kinds of Thunderbirds. And then, He had a Corvair. I remember going and buying that. And my dad breaking out cash, and the dude's wife counting the bills out. And the dude all excited about getting all this cash. And it was a white Corvair. The unsafe at any speed car. And what else did he have? He had the Lincoln Continental. I think it was a 62. Had the suicide doors. I think it was the same model that Kennedy was shot in. Or, it might have been a 61 or a 62. I forget now. They had a convertible Cadillac. What was the big Cadillac from the mid-50s? It was a convertible, but the roof hadn't gone up in years, and that thing was just friggin' destroyed from the weather. Just absolutely destroyed. It was not barn, it wasn't in an enclosure in a garage. It wasn't garaged, and the weather just beat it down. Something awful. I tell you, I remember one car my dad had. He had this Oldsmobile. It might have been a Cutlass or something. Man, that was a nice car. I remember it being like an Oldsmobile. I think it was an Oldsmobile. And damn, that was a nice car. I really liked that Olds. And I was so happy we had that car. And a couple of weeks later, he showed up with this other car, and I was like, what the hell is this? Where's the Oldsmobile? He's like, I sold it. I'm like, you sold the Oldsmobile? We love that car. He's like, I buy him to sell him. I'm like, oh, God, please. Might have been a Delta 88. Could have been. Oh, my God, did I love that friggin' car when I was a kid. We only had it like maybe 3 weeks. It was blue. Delta 88 with a 15-foot hood. Could have been it. In the 90s, I had an 87. Oh, was it the early 2000s? I had an 87 Lincoln Town Car. Late 90s. I had an 87 Lincoln Town Car. Man, that thing was huge. Couldn't get the air conditioning to work, though. Man, you died in the friggin' summer. Yeah. My God, when we used to go to the flea markets, my dad had a Volkswagen bus that the alternator worked fine, but the battery would die, and it would be cold in the morning, and he couldn't get it to start, and we were on a little hill, and I'd have to push it out of the get it in the back, start pushing. I'd push it down the driveway, and he'd pop the clutch, and start the engine, and then by the time we drove all the way there, it would be good enough. He'd get it jumped to get us out of there. But usually it would start for the ride home. Didn't have to jump it again. But I remember one time we drove it down the street, and he popped the clutch, could not get it going. And now we have to turn a corner, and we have another little hill. Once you get to the bottom of that hill, there's no more hill. So he took the corner, started going down that hill. I'm pushing the friggin' VW bus. I'm probably 12, 13. Pushing that Volkswagen bus down the friggin' hill. And building up speed. He popped the clutch. Get it going. All right, get in. Let's go. My dad bought and fixed up. He did fix up a 55 Caddy. I swear that's what we had. We had some. It was a mid-50s Caddy. Trying to think of what it would have been. Like, what were the Cadillacs out at that time? I don't know. Oh my God, the Chrysler Newport. Yeah, that thing was huge. That was really big. And a friend of mine, what did he have that was enormous too? Oh God, I can't. I think it might have been a Chevy. It was huge. You know, it could have been an Eldorado. If they were a thing at that time, could have been an Eldorado. It would have been a convertible, though. Cadillac would be whatever. It was a convertible for sure. And a 72 Maverick automatic, I had to pop in the neutral, brake with my left foot, and give it the gas over your right. Yeah. Yeah, 74 Challenger. Didn't Superman out the moonroof, yeah. Yeah, no one did seatbelts back then. God, I never wore a seatbelt. And then, it's weird, I just, even my wife, when we moved in here, I was using a seat, that's 25 years ago. I was never wearing seatbelts. And then little by little, I just started wearing them. And now I can't imagine driving without one on, you know? Kind of weird. It does flip. But yeah, no, God, when we were kids, no one wore a seatbelt. Ever. Now it's the law. You're supposed to wear one. Oh my God, it might have been an Impala. I think it was a 76. I think he had a 75 or a 76 Impala. That's probably what it was. That's a pretty big car, right? Oh, a Toronado. We probably had a couple of Toronados. A friend of mine had you want to talk of kind of a rare car. I'll never forget when he pulled up and I go, what the hell is this? He had an AMC Javelin. Pulled up in an AMC Javelin. I was like, what the hell is this? Yeah, my new car. I'm like, holy shit. I remember my sister, we got a little Mustang. Oh my God, my sister loved that car. My dad gives it to her, and my dad hears it. She's like, he goes, that engine sounds like it's rapping. She goes, oh yeah, there's a light that came on the dashboard, probably like weeks earlier, and never mentioned it. Like the oil light's been on. And she blew the engine. Blew that friggin' it. Probably had an engine leak. Probably had an oil leak. Didn't understand. Oil light came on. That's fun. Never saw that before. Don't tell anyone. Don't say shit. Don't understand what it is. And then just wait until it blew the engine. Yeah, the Impala was a big car. That's why I'm thinking there was a dude who worked at the music store. He had this enormous boat of a Chevy. Had to be the Impala, right? It was a mid-70s Impala. Last time he showed up here was 10 years ago, maybe long, 15 years ago. He had a BMW. I said, look at you, Hollywood. Went from the Chevy Impala to driving a nice Beamer. Remember the Javelin? Dad's best friend had one nice car. Yeah, at least it was until he wrapped it around a tree. It happens. A lot of AMC where you were because they had a factory down the street. Yeah. The Pacer and the Gremlin. Oh my God, we took a Pacer to Lake New Hampshire one time. God, idiots. On what we were thinking. Yeah, the Fiero. So the Fiero was like, I think, sort of like a Porsche ripoff, right? It was a two-seater, open top. I remember that in the mid-'80s. I'm thinking 85, 86, 87. And then the Mazda Miata came out, right? When did the Miata come out? Was that mid-'80s? That was the hottest car. Couldn't get one, right? On a waiting list. And then probably what kind of replaced it would be the, like the, what's the new little car? Oh, my neighbor had one for years. I can't think of it now. Cooper. Yeah, the Chevette. That's the only vet we were ever owning. 70s Cadillac Fleetwood. I think my dad did have a Fleetwood. Again, because he'd buy and sell them, wouldn't have it for very long. Steve, my bro, thanks to you. Picked up a Donner X Pro and couldn't be happy. Love your channel. I'm glad you like it. You know, are you plugging just in with the headphones? Because it's sort of like an all-in-one system. You can just sit there, and it's like the ultimate sort of practice. And I didn't cover it in the video because the video was already up to 55 minutes. But you can Bluetooth in. If you look at that chain, there's a Bluetooth in, and so you can Bluetooth in at the end. So it's post effects chain. So you go through all the effects chain at the very end. It adds the Bluetooth. So it should. You should be able to jam along with tracks, like all through one contained set of headphones, both the Bluetooth track and the internal. I didn't show it, but that, in theory, that's the way it should work. Yeah, hothouse cars, those AMCs, right? Like a bubble, like a glass bubble. The fishbowl. Yeah, the Fiero's a nice car until they fixed the frequent car fires. That was a joke back then, right? Oh, it's a Fiero, all right. It's on Fiero right now. Do do do. Dee dee dee. Hey, what's up, Aljon? Dad's first car was an old 79 Chevette. Yeah, the Chevette. I had a Le Car for one summer because it was all that we had to go, and it was the only working car at the time, and I needed a car. So I drove the Le Car. I burned the clutch right out of that friggin' thing. Clutch was already going, but man, needed a club, needed a clutch so bad, could barely get that thing rolling. It was so bad, totally burned out. Do I run a home server? I don't. I did at one time run a Windows domain, a local Windows domain. I do have a large I do have one system that has, 20 terabytes of storage in it. That kind of acts like a server, but it doesn't have like ECC RAM or, RAID 5 or any fault tolerance like that. It's just a, a computer I'm designating as a place to store a shit ton of files. Yeah, the car was it Renault? We never had a Yugo. Never had that. Had a few things. That Mercedes I had was pretty good. I had a two-door Mercedes that blew a shit ton of smoke, which is why it was so cheap. They thought it had like a blown engine. But what it really is they had this like, it's like maybe it's fiberglass. I think it was fiberglass. Or some sort of fiber. It was a membrane that went between the carburetor and the engine block. So when the engine when it had more vacuum, it would pull it open and allow like more. It was like just ridiculously over-engineered. Well, that membrane would get a hole in it. And in fact, the first time I brought it to a guy who actually knew it and said, "Oh, that sounds like the membrane inside the thing is broken." Because I said, "Yeah, I was on the highway when I would let off on the gas, it would blow smoke." He goes, "Yeah, because it's pissing oil into the fuel, right? You're building up pressure there in the engine. It's going right out that hole and going right into the fuel mixture. And when you step on the gas, it sucks it in." So sure enough, he pulls the carb off. There's a dime-size hole in it. Replaces that, and it's completely fixed. And the car is actually more peppy, right? Because that was killing my performance. And he had like tightened the valves down. Oh God, I remember leaving there being so freaking happy with how that car sounded and felt. I was like, it's like a whole new freaking car. And I remember being like out, like warming the car up in the winter, and all of a sudden it started smoking again. I said, "Oh, it went." And this time my dad knew what it was, and he was able to just pull the bolts off and buy another one and put it on. We probably replaced it like 3 or 4 times because maybe we had too cold a climate, and it would just crack. Right? It wasn't. You couldn't handle it would go all year long, and then in the winter it would crack and it would start blowing smoke again. Now, did you hear about, let me hold on a second. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you saw this, but there's been a rash of there's been a rash of side mirror smashes in Massachusetts. There's been a vandal going around and smashing the side mirrors of cars. And they have a description. It is a male wearing a black coat and a red hat. And we finally have a picture of him. There he is. Apparently, mating season, and he sees himself in the mirror and gets in a fight with himself and smashes the mirror until it breaks. And then, obviously, wins the fight. That's an actual photo of the actual culprit. And, you know, I think mating season, I think the story finally concluded because mating season ended and he calmed down. But people were literally covering their windows with bags because he had broken so many friggin' side windows. And they were so worried about it because it wasn't covered by insurance, or maybe, I don't know. It's like, does it cover, is that an act of God? What is that? Force majeure? We have a description. He's a male, about 10 to 12 inches tall. Oh, man. But people were literally covering their side mirrors up with bags because they were like, I don't want to deal with the hassle of having it replaced. Crazy. You can see him right now, right? What? Looking in the mirror. Now what's in here? Oh my God. Right? And he smashes the mirror and goes, nailed it. I parked near where I had parked near work. I had the same happen by a bird. Was forced to cover my mirrors with plastic bags. Yeah. Yeah, it's like in the mating season, they're very aggressive to other males. Then all of a sudden they see one, and he seems to have the same moves. Right? I'm moving this way, he's moving this way. Oh, you want to go, bro? You want to go? Classic man bites dog story. Almost got knocked out by a crow. Wow, flying the mirror on a Dan Ryan in the 90s, bounced off the mirror and hit you in the head. Oh, man. Almost a dozen stitches, damn. Right, better than an emu. What's the, I think it begins with a C. There is a tall bird that can rip your friggin', it's like the world's most dangerous bird. Can't think of it. Kappa, something. But they're a big bird and very prehistoric looking, and they have quite the talons, and they'll friggin' rip you right across the gut. Cassowary, that's it. Yeah, those are, deadly. I mean, like literally, like, I was just saying, like, more people are killed by that bird than a lot of other, like, so-called, by grizzly bears or something, right? Something that we associate with a lot of deaths, or sharks, but there's actually very few. But that freaking bird, supposedly, like, really freaking deadly. Like, thanks for not putting ads in your videos. It's a good time watching shows. I try to get to it. I have to babysit it when I'm done with the show because YouTube, even though I don't turn it on, they quietly turn it on after the show ends. They just do. And so I figured out that I have to wait. Now, if I go right to it, they're like, well, you can't adjust monetization settings right now because we're still processing the video. So I have to check back in 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 120 minutes, depending on how quickly they're processing it. And then all of a sudden I'll get in there and it will say monetization is on, and that will be it. Mid-rolls will be checked off. And I have to uncheck it and press save. Like literally every week. Because the dude was like, dude, I'd watch your show, but way too many ads, bro. It's like, what are you talking about? I turned those off. I went in there, they were on. I turned them on. They're like, no, you want them on. Like, yeah, but I don't. But you do. No, I still don't. Of course, they're in Australia where everything kills you. Look at this adorable little, rat. Get away from that, it'll kill you. Look at this lovely bird. Get away from that. Yeah, every snake. Every snake, every bird, every fish, it'll kill you. YouTube videos talking about vintage cars when it actually talks about the original price and what be today with the market. And I'm sure. I was looking the other day because I was thinking back to the upright video consoles that my dad had. He bought those in, I want to say 84, 85. I want to say 84. At like the height of, might have been late 84. It was at the height of, the sort of like the arcade as a business apocalypse, right? Arcades are just closing left and right. Home consoles have completely like sort of taken over. And they're like losing their, it's sort of just, it had become a fad. There was like remarkable growth, and then there's like this huge drop off in sales. A lot of them went under. My dad bought them out. But like when I look back and I see, like, he paid, I'm pretty sure, $1,000 for all of those machines. And I want to say we had 10. But it might have been 12. I thought it was 10, though. We had a pool table. He wanted to make a game room. And he had a chance to buy all of them because the guy was going out of business. And typical of my dad, well, how much for all of them? Because he knows he's going to get them individually for a lot less money than just piecemealing it. He's like, oh, I'm selling video games. You want to buy any video games? And, of course, and immediately my dad would be, well, how much for all of them? Because he wants to get them for like short money. I'm pretty sure he paid $1,000, and it was either 10 or 12. But the machines he had, if you go and you look up, and you can look up like these old vintage machines, they even have pricing lists and so forth. I think either every or almost every machine he had qualifies for like a top 50 most important, because of the machines he chose. He only chose machines that he sort of recognized. And my dad didn't know video games. It's like it would have to be really popular for him to have known what to get. So he got ones like Space Invaders and Frogger, and we had Pac-Man and Centipede. Never had Donkey Kong, but we did have Centipede. And he had ones that he didn't know, but actually turned out, Asteroids. But one of them that we had that turned out to be a pretty famous one was like either Galaga or Galaga. That was a huge one. basically a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up. And he had Tron, which isn't worth it. But if you go and you look at the pricing for all of those consoles, they're way up. None of them are down in the, $400 to $600 range. They're all like $1,200 an upper machine, just because, even in like non-working condition, because they're so revered, they're so wanted, they're sort of like a very important piece in a collection. And you remember when we had those speakers? Did you ever come over and play those? So what they did was they would unlock the front door, so the front door would spin open, and there's a wire that went around, so when the coin went through, it would fall on that wire, and the wire would fall down and click and register you the new game. So all you had to do was very open, just gently, just tap that wire, click, 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 till you have 20 friggin' credits, and then you just go through. Yeah, no, we never had. So Galaxian was the earlier version of Galaga. We had Tempest. Too. So I mean, those are pretty big names, right? In the world, I'd say of all the ones I mentioned, probably Tron was the least. We could never get Tron to work. We had a problem with the board, and. Yeah, history right there, culturally iconic. I think so. As there's a picture of me on my prom night, and in the background, you can see, we had the prom photos in the basement, and I'm walking around the pool table, and you can see behind me, I think it's definitely Frogger, and I forget the one next to it. I'll have to go find the photo. But, yeah, we had... And kids would come over and they're like, I can't believe you have full upright arcade games. I'm like, I know. I think my mother's just tired of fighting. Oh my God, we might have had Zaxxon. That rings a bell. I'd have to, I don't know if you, I remember Tron being down most often at my local arcade. We might have had Zaxxon. That's ringing a bell now that you say that. I'm going to have to look that up and look that game up. Is that on this machine? I'll look it up real quick. See if it's something I recognize. Yeah. That, I'm just thinking I can almost see the sign. You could just, you just remember your basement. You can almost, remember seeing that sign up there. The only reason that I would say we wouldn't have it is because that's a name my dad would not know. Right? He just, he'd be relying on the guy telling him, yeah, this is a popular one. Let me see. Let me go to MAME, and then we'll go up here. 0 hour. Yeah, there it is. Zaxxon. Yeah, certainly let me look at the video. Oh, yeah. Doesn't ring a bell. I would have remembered that. I don't think so. Yeah, there it is, right? Let's go to Zaxxon Cam. Right? There it is. The great thing about these little handhelds is that arcade systems, they have no problem running at all. None. That's pretty low tech. You can rip right through it with a quad core. I wonder what he got for them when he sold them. I mean, you figure if he put $1,000, you figure that was probably 1984. Maybe they're worth now, $10,000 or $12,000, or maybe even as much as $15,000 for the collection. And you might even be worth more as a collection because it had so many big names in it. But you just wonder if you had just taken that same $1,000 and threw it in IBM that year. Just saying, threw it in a Standard & Poor's index fund. Might be doing better than 10 or 15 grand. Yeah, I watched the 8-bit guy because he does a lot of the old Commodore 64 and Amiga stuff, and his use of the whole thing with retro brighting and all that. It just, I mean, some of those restorations are just incredible. It's great to see old computers restored like that. But I dug his arcade stuff. I was thinking that I could probably get some pretty decent panels, have some graphics made, and using like sort of like a little Raspberry Pi or even a little Windows system, whip up a Batacera, dedicated machine, and use the real. You can actually, in fact, I just ordered one. I wonder if I could get a picture of it here. I just ordered a desktop. I'm trying to get my last orders in before prices go up, because I suspect they're going up. Hold on. So one of the things that sucks about the recent tariffs is they got rid of the de minimis exemption. So anything 800, under 800 used to be yeah, let me do it like right there. Used to be exempt, and now there is not. And then they were saying that like there's going to be a one. Again, it's hard to sort this out. They're like, well, the tariff is going from 146 down to 30, but or there's a $100 U.S. Postal Service processing fee, or some sort of a customs processing fee, whatever is higher, whether the tariff is higher at 30% or the fee is higher. And it's like, well, then a $30 item, even with a small tariff, would be $130, because that would be the higher of the two items versus the $9 in tariff. So who knows where it is? We got to wait for this all to shake out. But in the meantime, this one shipped from within the U.S. It's shipped from Chicago and came in. But it's a tabletop, and it's got the full machine keys. And I'll bet I could cut a hole in the top and sink this down in it, right? Sink the... Can I bring that up? Yeah. Right? Sink it down in the... Oh my God, you piece of shit. It's like the worst. I can't... You know what that is? I thought this was to expand it. That was to using AI, find more items that look like this item. You see how bullshit? Anyway, for $20, I'll give it a try. I'm willing to pay as much to and including $20 for it. Is Nelson here? What's up, Nelson? It's time to get a new scarf from Burberry before it's too late. Yeah. You know, and those jobs aren't coming here because even if they did come here, you couldn't compete. You know, the average income in Vietnam is 14,000 a year. The poverty line in the United States is 15,000. So you would have to be working. That's the average in Vietnam in U.S. dollars. The average in China is 9,500. So, you know, as long as you're willing to work for $9,500 a year, sure. Listen, America makes luxury items. Period. Exactly, Overlord. You're just paying more. It's just a tax. Period. On the fantasy that you'll create factories here, but no one's going to do that. What's really screwing, though, are small businesses that do rely on those cheap imports and then huge markups. Right? They have like a little, I call them a grift shop, but they have a gift shop, right? Call it a grift shop. But, you know, it's a high markup shop. And they get knickknacks and crap, right? Tchotchkes. And they rely on a really high markup. And so they are particularly price sensitive because it's really about, like, the markup has to be like 5, 10, 20x. I got to buy it for 50 cents and sell it for $10. I mean, that's literally the kind of markup you need to keep those places going because they don't really have that many sales. So those are the people that are going to be, I think, affected because when you really start to affect that stuff, it's almost impossible to stay in business. So, you know, speaking about prices coming down, I did notice, and again, this is sort of just anecdotal, but let me see if I can call a couple up here. I did notice some prices coming down a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be on this machine though, right? Because, yeah, it doesn't remember. But let me see if I can do their new stupid unified search. Pisses me off. Because they're so desperate to like autofill and to like keep a big massive record of like everything. It's like it's all about telemetry, and they also really want to unify new and used, but I'm not interested in the new ones. I'm only interested in the used ones. So used to be you could just search there, but they got rid of that. It's annoying as shit. Oh God, this thing. Can I bring that down enough? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. All right, hold on. I gotta move ahead a few pages because I have to sort by price to get any handle on like what they got here. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. I can probably start about right there, roughly. Yeah. So if you notice here, there's a Les Paul Traditional Pro. Now it is a satin one, but it's down to $13.69. You couldn't get a Les Paul and a traditional or a standard or anything like that. You could not get them lower than $14.99. You know, this is, you're starting to see the cracks a little bit to bring those prices down just a hair. Again, we're still in the studios, but like right there's a traditional. Again, it wasn't too long ago that this would have never been below like $16.99. They just were not doing anything in the standard or the traditional. They had really shot up to $16, $17, $18.99. And I'm just really starting to see more and more coming down. I think there were more up here recently and they've sold. But again, you have a bunch to choose from under $1,500. Just wasn't there 12 months ago. But I think it's more get out there. And some have some pretty, again, now you get a lot more. $14.99, $14.99, the traditional pros, which are a satin back, but still, not, it's a pretty decent guitar. Starting to see them come down. There was nothing down in this range not too long ago. Again, they used to be down here, and quite frankly, maybe even a touch lower, maybe 2.5 to 3 years ago. Right before that, the whole inflation push, and when was that? 2022 into 23. And then it started to come down, and they've been sort of coming down ever since. But as you know, prices go up very quickly and come down very slowly. But there's a lot of stock here. They just literally didn't have this amount of stock. Because I would be going on here looking for Les Pauls, and you just did not. And certainly anything that was like this, that was like a blue, like that, any sort of, would immediately be gone. Because it was like a non-standard color. So I'd say that the used market is definitely softening up a little bit. I also noticed it a little bit on Strats too. You can take a look at that in a sec. I thought this was a good looking guitar though. What do you think about that? Kind of got a little Ace Frehley vibe to it. No? Kind of remind you, like Ace has a guitar like that. He's probably got a little nicer top, but still. Between that and the DiMarzio Super Distortions, it's got an Ace Frehley lead guitar kind of vibe to it. A little bit. Nice dark fretboard too. There's a few others, and again, that's $1,649. I have a feeling like that top, they would have been over $2,000, $1,999 and up. They would have looked at that top and said, no, premium, we're going to get a little bit more. Same here. Again, I don't think that they would. Right? It's a little too nice of a top to really put it out at $1,649. So definitely seeing a little bit more. Some nice honey bursts, Dlock bursts. That classic looks nice. It has a headstock repair. Keep on moving, which is probably why it's in fair condition. I think that's lights. When the lights go down, there's a couple of other ones I thought looked pretty good. And again, you wouldn't have seen that quality. Yeah, this one here, this traditional, I thought looked pretty hot. Again, kind of nice top. Right? Good looking guitar. And there was one more. Where the heck? They might have sold. There's a chance it's just gone. That was fair too for some reason. I remember looking at that and being like, meh. It had a repair, I think. Or it had something going on. Well, maybe it's gone. They might have sold it. They are in the business of selling guitars. Yeah. I am not seeing it. They have a lot at $17.99 though, huh? Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they sold it. There was one. It was a pretty sick top, and I don't see it. You could even tell by this small thumbnail because the top was, yeah, and this one was a little bit more expensive. I remember this honey lemon kind of had a little bit of a chevron going on. Looking good. Again, they would never sell that top. to look at it and be like, oh, no, no, too nice, too nice. Yeah, I think that might be gone. Pretty sure it was $17.99. And I don't see anything even remotely like it. Yeah, it definitely sold. The top was too nice. Someone else saw what I saw, which was, huh, that's a hell of a top. I'll take one more cruise through that $17.99 section. Just $16.99. Yeah, it was right around this price point. And I didn't see it. That, again, that Premium Plus has a repaired headstock. Yeah, I think it's gone. Oh, good for them. Was it this? Was it the 09? No. Definitely not. No, it stood out. It had a really nice top. Anyway. It's gone now. Someone snatched it up. Yeah, definitely gone. I do not see it. Yeah, we're already up to 18. Anyway. Let me just check one more thing. Take a look at where the Fender Strats are at. You know, I tend to go with popular models. Gibson Les Paul, Fender Strat. Again, I have to filter out the new. Thanks, Guitar Center. Yeah, straight up standard Strat, down to $399, fair condition now. That's a Starcaster. That's not a Stratocaster. But you know, $429, $449, coming down a tiny bit from where they were. I feel like they were all above $500 if you wanted the Fender emblem. Quite a few lefties there. I have a lot of choices under $500. Including the new. Have you seen these? Actually, that's not it because it has a regular. It doesn't have the ebony. They have a series with an ebony, like this one, that Seafoam Pearl. They had a ton of these. Yeah, those were like $5.99 not too long ago. And what's it down to? $4.99. Yeah. So, you know, again, it's softening just a little bit. Just a hair. And again, we're quite a few models under $500. You know, nice looking candy apple red right there. Oh yeah, that's a 90s all day. Yeah, pregnant headstock. The slightly pregnant, the baby bump headstock. Anything else? Not really. That's a buttercream. Again, that Surf Pearl. You couldn't get one under $5.99 not too long ago because I was looking at them. I kind of like that Surf Pearl. It's a good looking finish. Again, another Seafoam Pearl, $5.29, $5.99 not that long ago, $6.29. So coming down a little bit, without a doubt. I want to see if they have an ebony fretboard one for under $600. Do you have one of the new modern Fender Strats with the ebony fretboard and it's $5.99 or lower? Maybe not. Haven't seen one so far, and we're up to $549. Those are all MIM. You're not going to get Japan at this price. These are all going to be MIM. Or worse. It could be, did they ever do a Korean Fender labeled? Maybe. For a short period, but I feel like it's either MIM, MIJ, right? MIM, MIJ, or USA. These are all MIM, though, all day. There's the Player 2. That's a great guitar. Player 2 is a gorgeous guitar. And you can already tell, like, the older, lighter fretboard and the newer, darker fretboard. Look at the fretboard on that thing. Oh, man, that looks sick. That's awesome. That's a nice guitar right there. All right, continuing on. Do they have one ebony fretboard special run? I feel like that, you know, that's satin blue. That wouldn't be it. Wouldn't be satin. It's either going to be, I want to say, red, yellow, or green. That's the Stoplight series. So far, nothing, so maybe not. Maybe not. Seeing a lot of those surf ones. Seeing some pearl blues and Lake Placid blues. I have not seen one with the ebony fretboard. That was a special series. It was a special run. But they had, oh, we're getting up there too. We're up to $5.99. This is it. It's going to have to show up. Nice 60s classic, though. Yeah, it's marked down. That's a decent price. Anything else? Come on. Give me one ebony fretboard. You can do it. Oh my God. I keep seeing similar paint, but not the right guitar. So far, nothing. Does not look good. We're running out of slots here. There's a Fender Special Run Candy Apple, but that's not ebony. No, it's rosewood. No, that's not it. Maybe not. Oh, we're still in the $5.99s. Come on. You got this, bro. You see the new Happy Gilmore trailer? They even brought back Ben Stiller, which is amazing. Straight to Netflix, too. We didn't do it. We're into the 600s. Didn't get there. All right. What's the cheapest one? There's a Sonic. There's a Player. I'm not seeing any. They had quite a few of them on here. Maybe they just sold them, so they're getting more of for each individual one now that they've reduced their stock a little bit. But I haven't seen one. I have not seen one. That's another Player too. That's a good looking guitar though, right? Yeah, I love the green. That's hot. Where's my cheapest one? Still nothing. They've got to have at least one. They probably have a half dozen. But man, they're going up. Supply and demand. That's a player 2. Yeah, man. They must have had a run. There's a vintage. We're already into Venteras, which is the vintage era. You know, I don't see any. You couldn't miss them. They had very bright, they're all pretty bright paint jobs. There's the Floyd Strat already. Man, starting to get into a friggin' artist series. Yeah. Man, I can't believe they've sold completely out of those ebony ones. They had quite a few of them on here. And they're a lot less than this. Maybe prices aren't softening as much as I thought. I'm seeing a lot, but I'm not seeing a single one. No. Huh? Shocking. All right. I guess, yeah. Wow. We're into the 7s. There's no way it's here. You gotta start to get into Fender USA stuff. Once you get this high. Wow. Strat Plus. Yeah, that's like like another Ventera style. Some contemporaries. Wow. All right. Yeah, already into like HM series and Player Plus. So they must have sold out. At this point, I wouldn't recommend spending the money because I've seen them so much cheaper. Like literally 200 cheaper. So they just must be gone. They were a limited edition, but they had a ton of them for a long time. Yeah, I don't see them. Up to $7.99, they got nothing. And we get one to feature some wrestlers and real life golfers too. I suspect, I'm just going to call it right now. We'll see if I'm right. At one point, I think he goes to visit the grave of Chubbs. And, right, because he needs help. And who was at the gravesite but Shooter? If I had to guess, I'd say that he is in some contest about something, right? He's in some golf, match and winds up needing help and going to Shooter for help. That's my theory. Shooter McGavin is his coach. Found one for $6.80 on Reverb. Yeah. Yeah, stop laughing at me, clown. I hate that clown. He's laughing. He's laughing. And you know the voice. That is Adam Sandler, right? You can hear it. That's his voice. Shooter. I hate that clown. Little tap, tap, tapper. Little tap, tap, taparoo. He even says in the trailer, I'm going to have to find a more, a a more politically correct, happy place, right? He's basically, he goes to his happy place, and it's that chick from Modern Family in friggin' lingerie, and holding a couple of mugs of beer. I'm sure Netflix was like, Yeah, The Price is Wrong, bitch. God, what a great movie that was. And of course he brings in, what's his name, too, who's the guy who played Jaws? Richard, oh God, I can't think of his name. Yeah, Richard Keel. Richard Keel, who plays, is it Mr. Dreyfus? No, Mr. Larson. Hey, Mr. Larson. The nail comes out next week. Hey, you can hardly even notice it. Hit the ball off of Frankenstein's foot. Yeah. God. And I'll meet you. Oh. So you can count. And you can count on me waiting for you in the parking lot. Yeah, Richard Keel. Yeah, too funny. Oh my God, is it 9 o'clock already? This night flew by. Time warp, time vortex. All right, dudes. Have a wonderful week. Got a new video coming out on Monday. New guitar of the week. And you can check that out. And I don't know if I'm having a second one this week. I got to see. I don't know if I have anything planned. But I'll, you never know. I might get inspired. It could happen. It could happen, Well, oh yeah? Well, I think you've had enough. No? Oh, God, that's the best with frickin' Bob Barker. Just the best. What a scene. So, you rock. You guys have a wonderful week. Check out my video on a Monday. I'll see you all here next week. And, have a great week. There you go. No, you rock. All right, man. I'm off. And, there you go. What an ending. All right. Later.